Easter deal. Like to welcome you to another episode of HIPHOPRAISEDME, the blog.com, where we celebrate 49 years of the younger genre of music. I'm talking about hip hop, y'all. It's about the knowledge, the culture, and the lifestyle. Hip Hop Raised Me. Alright, party people. Breaking news. Brooklyn Bishop Lamor Whitehead arrested on federal charges on wire fraud and extortion. Now in New York, Bishop Lamor Whitehead, the flashy Brooklyn pastor who made the headlines in July when he was robbed at gunpoint of $1 million in jewelry during a church service, was arrested Monday on federal charges of wire fraud and extortion. The well-known pastor is accused of defrauding one of his parishioners out of part of her retirement savings, attempting to extort and defraud a businessman, and lying to the FBI. The charges were unsealed Monday in Manhattan federal court, where Whitehead was due later in the day, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. Whitehead, 45, is charged with 2 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of extortion, and 1 count of making material false statements. In a statement announcing the arrest, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said Whitehead abused the trust placed in with him by the parishioner, bullied a businessman for $5,000, then tried to defraud him of far more than that, and led to the federal agents. His campaign of fraud and deceit stops now. FBI Assistant Director Michael J. Driscoll said Whitehead carried out several duplication schemes in order to receive funds from his victims, and then consciously chose to mislead and lie to them, to investigators. Prosecutors accused Whitehead and the premise of seeking money and other valuables from people on the basis of either threats or false promises. According to the indictment, Whitehead persuaded one of his parishioners to invest $90,000 of her retired savings with him, but instead spent the investment on luxury goods and other personal purposes. Whitehead also alleged extorted a businessman out of $5,000 before attempting to convince him to lend him $500,000 and give him a stake in real estate transactions in return for favorable actions from the city government, actions he knew and couldn't obtain, prosecutors said. As FBI agents executed a search warrant, Whitehead also falsely claimed he had no cell phones other than the phone he was carrying on him, according to prosecutors. In reality, Whitehead had a second phone which he regularly used to communicate with, including and sending texts that referred to the device as "my other phone," shortly after he lied to the agents, according to the prosecutors. It is unclear when the interaction between Whitehead and the agents happened. Whitehead faces decades in prison if convicted on all accounts. The pastor was famously held up at gunpoint and it conducted a sermon at his Tomorrow International Ministry in Canarsie on July 24th, a robbery that was captured on live stream of the event. During the robbery, Whitehead dove to the floor while his wife shielded their infant daughter, who was sitting on their lap. Several thieves made off with more than $1 million in jewelry, according authorities had said. 2 men were arrested in September in connection with the holdup and faced federal robbery charges. A third man was said to remain at large. Whitehead was initially questioned about whether the heist was staged. The last 2 months were hell, he said. This clears up the whole narrative that I had something to do with this crime. It's a new beginning. Authorities said that believe Whitehead didn't know his attackers and that they were attracted to him and his wife because of the jewelry they wore. In the past, Whitehead has said he is his friends with Mayor Eric Adams, even referring to him as mentor and brother. The mayor hasn't commented on his arrest. Now, what do you think about this, man? Drop it in the comments. Let's hear you sound it off. Shout out to all the hip hop babies.